Across Ukraine this week, the familiar late-night buzz of incoming drones has met a new answer: hunters in the sky. Ukrainian officials say domestically built interceptor drones are now being deployed to chase down and collide with Russia's Shahed-type attack drones. The goal is simple and urgent: stop more drones with fewer costly missiles and protect cities and power infrastructure through winter nights. But even as this new layer expands, strikes still get through, and the contest keeps evolving in real time nightly. The Associated Press reports that Ukrainian interceptors, including models known as Sting and Bullet, have moved from prototypes to mass production in 2025 and are being used by night patrol units guarding sites. Operators fly them by monitor or with first-person view goggles, racing upward before ramming the target. The price tag is what makes the idea disruptive. App cites Ukrainian developers saying some interceptors can cost around $1,000, far less than air defense missiles, and far less than many drones they destroy. Analysts caution this is not a single solution, but a growing part of a layered defense. Those interceptors are entering service during a week of heavy pressure. In official updates posted on Telegram, Ukraine's Air Force described successive overnight waves of Shahed and other drones. It said Russia launched 69 attack drones starting the evening of December 15, then 82 starting the evening of December 17, and 160 on the night of December 18 to 19. In each case, the Air Force said its defenses shot down or jammed a majority. On December 21, it reported 97 drones launched and 75 neutralized, while warning the attack was still ongoing. A report on December 20 listed 51. That December 20 Air Force update also underlines the limits of any defense. Ukrainian reporting said Russia fired 3 Iskander-M missiles and launched 51 drones overnight, including Shahed and Geran types, and that 31 drones were shot down or suppressed. The update reported impacts at multiple locations. A day earlier, for the 160 drone wave, Ukrainian reporting said strikes by dozens of drones were recorded even as 108 were downed or jammed. So when analysts say the Shahed threat is shrinking, they do not mean it has disappeared. They mean Ukraine is improving the odds and the cost balance. Shahed drones, designed in Iran and fielded in large numbers by Russia, have become a weapon of attrition. They are relatively cheap compared with missiles, can fly long distances, and can be launched in waves to overwhelm radars, crews, and ammunition stocks. Ukraine and its partners have been forced to choose between firing expensive surface-to-air missiles or relying on cheaper tools like electronic warfare, machine guns, and mobile teams. The drone interceptors are a bet that Ukraine can add another cheap tool that is fast, accurate, and scalable. In other words, fight mass without breaking budgets. The basic concept is brutally direct. An interceptor drone is launched from the ground, guided by a pilot, and often assisted by sensors and spotters until it meets the incoming drone and strikes it. Some interceptors carry a small warhead. Others rely on impact at speed. App described one model, the Sting, as shaped like a flying thermos, built to surge in speed for the final seconds. Another, the Bullet, is designed for the same job. The payoff is not elegance, it is volume. If you can field hundreds a day, you can defend more points more often right now. Economics may be the most important battlefield here. In the app reporting, Ukrainian developers said the drones they destroy can cost anywhere from about $10,000 up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, depending on the model. Even if those estimates vary, the central point holds. A cheap locally built interceptor can be traded for a more expensive incoming weapon, and you can do it without draining missile stocks. The same logic explains why Ukraine has leaned on electronic warfare and mobile gun teams. Interceptors simply push the equation one step further, turning the sky into a close-range arena again. Ukraine is also trying to scale this idea at industrial speed. In December, Ukraine's defense ministry and its procurement agency said they were supplying troops with roughly 950 interceptor drones per day since the beginning of the month, specifically to counter Shahed-type aircraft. Defense Minister Denys Shmyhal said the system strengthened protection against drone attacks while preserving resources for intercepting crews and ballistic missiles. Business Insider reported the ministry said it is working with more than 10 interceptor manufacturers and placing more orders for next year. That scale matters because early in 2025, the interceptors were prototypes on paper. Speed is a constant obsession in this contest because Russia is also upgrading its drones. Business Insider cited Ukrainian announcements that an interceptor has reached about 400 kilometers per hour in testing, with some systems priced under $6,000. That matters because many Shahed drones fly slower, but newer variants, including jet-powered models often referred to as Geran 3, are reported to be much faster. Ukraine's interceptor program is trying to close that gap before Russia can exploit it at scale. In this race, seconds can mean the difference between a drone falling harmlessly and a strike reaching a target. Yet speed alone is not enough. Analysts point out that interceptor drones only work when they are tied into detection, tracking, and quick decision-making. A small quadcopter cannot hunt what it cannot see. That is why Ukraine's air defense is described as layered. Radar and observers to spot the threat, electronic warfare to disrupt navigation, mobile fire groups and guns for low targets, missiles for the hardest ones, and now interceptors to fill the gap in between. The app reporting includes warnings that these drones are not a magic fix, but an added option that becomes powerful when scaled. On the ground, this innovation still depends on people. App described night patrols defending power infrastructure, launching interceptors and steering them into the black sky. Their commander, identified by the call sign Loy, told the app that every destroyed target is one that does not hit homes or power plants. It is a simple line, but it captures the urgency. For crews working through sirens in air, an interceptor drone is not just hardware. It is a chance to engage earlier, farther out, and more often. And because the interceptors are cheaper than missiles, commanders can fire without burning through stocks. So what does it mean to say the Shahed threat is shrinking this week? It does not mean Russia has stopped launching drones. The Air Force numbers show it has not. It means Ukraine is fielding more ways to reduce the damage per wave. When more drones are down, jammed, or forced off course, the strike rate drops and the impact can soften. It also means Russian planners have to spend more effort on deception, flying drones on longer routes, adding JAMARs, and sending decoy targets. That increases complexity and cost. In a war of attrition, shifts in efficiency matter. Russia, for its part, has treated Shahed drones as a platform, not a single weapon. The app report notes multiple Russian variants, including drones equipped with JAMARs, cameras, and turbojet engines. Military analysts have also tracked how Russia has worked to secure parts and expand production lines, often by drawing on international supply chains. The diplomat described a Russian drone supply network enabled by access to Chinese components, arguing it is reshaping the scale of drone warfare. Ukraine's interceptor push is therefore not just about one model of drone. It is about keeping pace with a moving target over time. Ukraine's Air Force updates this week say Russia is mixing Shahed drones with other types, including Gerber drones and decoys. That blending is a saturation tactic. Flood the sky with more contacts than defenders can track and stretch the response across regions at once. The defending side then has to decide what to hit with missiles, what to hit with guns, what to jam, and what to ignore. Interceptor drones slot into that decision tree. They are faster than mobile gun teams, cheaper than a missile, and more precise than jamming. In theory, they help turn saturation into manageable workload. Not everything about interceptor drones is easy or cheap. Pilots need training, and each flight is a high-speed manual chase. Whether can ground launches or blunt sensors, target identification matters when the sky is filled with decoys and friendly aircraft. The drones also depend on data links that can survive jamming and on a steady supply of motors, batteries, and cameras. So this is not a simple swap where drones replace missiles. The question is whether interceptors can cut the number of missile shots needed each night, and whether Ukraine can keep producing them faster than Russia can adapt. Outside Ukraine, militaries are watching closely. The app report says defense planners in Ukraine and NATO expect drone production on both sides to keep accelerating into 2026, driving interest in a layered system, sometimes described as a drone wall along Europe's eastern borders. In September, Britain announced a partnership with Ukraine, known as Project Octopus, to develop and mass-produce interceptor drones, with UK officials saying the design has proved highly effective against Shahed-style threats while costing a fraction of what it intercepts. The message is that wartime improvisation is turning into a template for wider air defense planning. That planning is tied to support. In a statement released by the UK government this month, Britain said it is committing a £600 million air defense package for Ukraine that includes automated turrets designed to shoot down drones, along with missiles and other capabilities aimed at protecting civilians and critical infrastructure through winter. The strategic logic is to create layers with tools that can be replenished faster than the attacker can exhaust them. Interceptor drones fit into that concept. They are not a replacement for missile batteries. They are a pressure valve for the nights when drones come in waves. Ukraine's counter-drone effort is a blend of improvisation and integration. Mobile gun teams can down low-flying drones, but only if they spot them in time and get into position. Electronic warfare can disrupt navigation, but it does not guarantee the drone will fall harmlessly. An interceptor drone can chase, climb, and correct in real time, especially when pilots get cues from radar, acoustic sensors, or observers. Thermal cameras can help pick up targets against the night sky. That network makes the interceptor useful. Without detection and coordination, a drone is just another gadget burning batteries in the dark. This matters because the Shahed campaign is not only about damage. It is designed to keep people awake, strain the power grid, and compel Ukraine to spend money and manpower night after night. Even when most drones are shot down, sirens still sound and emergency crews still respond. That tension is part of the weapon. So any technology that reduces the number of drones reaching targets and reduces the cost of interception has outsized value. When Ukraine can defend with thousands of small interceptors instead of expensive missiles, it can stretch air defense resources further into the future for longer. Air Force reports this week show attacks launched from multiple points and approaching from different directions, including from occupied Crimea, to complicate defense. That is one reason the interceptor approach is attractive. Interceptor teams can be stationed near specific facilities and respond locally, rather than relying only on missile batteries. If a wave splits into smaller streams, local interceptors can still engage. That said, Ukraine's December 21 update still recorded drone hits across several locations. So the threat can be reduced but not eliminated. And each night remains a test of sensors, crews, and luck for the people on watch. Where can interceptors make the biggest difference? Around critical infrastructure and dense urban areas, where the cost of a single hit is high. A Shahed striking a transformer station can trigger outages and force repairs. A drone hitting housing can start fires and disrupt daily life. Ukraine is trying to create protected bubbles around sensitive targets. Interceptors give commanders a way to concentrate defense without moving heavy missile systems each time Russia shifts routes. They can be launched from dispersed locations, and they are easier to hide. Mobility is resilience, especially when the attacker is searching for gaps every night. The pace of production suggests Ukraine is thinking in daily arithmetic. If Russia can send hundreds of drones in repeated waves, Ukraine needs thousands of interceptors nationwide, not a handful of prototypes. Supplying about 950 interceptors per day, as the Defense Ministry has described, begins to match that tempo. But production is only half the story. Each drone must be delivered, charged, tested, and paired with trained pilots, spare parts, and communications. And each intercept produces data for redesign. That feedback loop is why drones evolve fast. The war is forcing a rapid cycle. Build, lose, learn, and build again. Russia is trying to break the cycle from the other side. Reporting has described Shahed variants flying faster and higher, with stronger jammers meant to disrupt Ukrainian defenses. Business Insider notes, some Ukrainian makers are attempting to build interceptors that can catch jet-powered Shahed. 238 type variants, believed to be much quicker than the propeller Shahed 136. That is the next phase. Can a cheap interceptor still win if the target accelerates? The answer depends on motors and guidance, but also on detection and timing. When targets move faster, the window to see, decide, and strike becomes narrower quickly. Ukraine has been experimenting with interceptors for months, and officials say the concept is moving from experiment to routine. Earlier in 2025, Ukrainian Air Force spokesman Yuri Ihnat spoke publicly about interceptor unmanned systems downing Shahed drones, saying the effort was producing results and moving beyond the experimental stage. That does not mean every unit has the same coverage. It means the idea is spreading. A tool once used against reconnaissance drones is being adapted to intercept long-range, one-way attack drones. And because the designs are Ukrainian, engineers can change them quickly when Russia changes tactics so rapidly. One reason Ukraine can move quickly is the ecosystem behind the hardware. App reports volunteer-driven startups like Wild Hornets and a company known as General Cherry are producing interceptor models, while the government procurement system scales deliveries and orders. Business Insider notes crowdfunding groups also sponsor some interceptors for select units, though in smaller quantities than state procurement. It also creates competition between designs, accelerating improvement. In peacetime, defense development can take years. In wartime, an upgrade can be measured in weeks and deployed almost immediately. The people building these drones frame it as economics. In the app report, a representative of General Cherry said the drones being destroyed can cost far more than the interceptors, and that the exchange rate inflicts economic damage on Russia's campaign, even allowing for uncertainty in cost estimates. The strategic logic is sound. The attacker wants to force the defender to spend expensive ammunition. The defender wants to respond with something cheaper that can be produced locally. That is why interceptors matter, even if they do not stop every drone. They change the math. When the math changes, tactics follow. For civilians, the measure is not how many drones are launched, but how many reach targets. Ukraine's Air Force updates this week reported both neutralizations and impacts, and the pattern is mixed. In the 160 drone wave reported on December 19, Ukraine said 108 were shot down or jammed, but strikes were recorded. In the December 16 report, it said 57 of 69 were neutralized, yet impacts were still reported. The numbers underline the reality. Defense can improve and still fail in places. Interceptors may help, but immunity is impossible overnight. A shrinking threat is a gain, not a guarantee. This is why Ukraine's officials keep talking about conserving missiles. Cruise and ballistic missiles require high-end interceptors, and stocks can be limited. If Russia can force Ukraine to fire those missiles at cheap drones, it can create windows for more dangerous strikes. That is the logic behind mixing drones with missile launches and sending drones as decoy. Defense Minister denies Shmyhal linked interceptor drone deliveries to preserving resources for tougher threats. The interceptor drone becomes an insurance policy. Spend $1,000 now to save a missile for later. Over time, that can keep an air defense system alive. Russia's drone use explains why this fight is becoming industrial. Business Insider cited estimates that Russia has been attacking with roughly 5,500 Shahed-type drones a month. Whether the exact number rises or falls, the trend is toward mass. When nights bring dozens or more than 100 drones, Ukraine cannot treat each one like a rare missile. It has to build an assembly line response. Interceptor drones are one piece of that response, designed to be produced fast, delivered in bulk, and used without hesitation. That is why this matters beyond any single night in the wider war economy. What comes next is scale and integration. The app report says Ukrainian drone makers are expected to expand co-production with U.S. and European firms in 2026, combining battle-tested designs with Western capacity. It also points to more automation and artificial intelligence to reduce risk for operators. If that works, interceptors could become less dependent on individual pilots and more like a system. That would matter for Europe and for Ukraine's defense. But automation creates vulnerabilities because data links can be jammed or spoofed. The year may show whether interceptors remain a supplement or become a pillar of air defense. Ukraine is deploying drone interceptors, and the toolkit is growing. In the week to December 23, Ukraine's Air Force reported waves where most drones were shot down or jammed. including 57 of 69 and 75 of 97. That does not end the threat, but it suggests defenses are absorbing attacks more effectively than before. Combined with the Defense Ministry's claim of delivering roughly 950 interceptors per day in December, it shows how quickly this technology is being industrialized. The Shahd threat is shrinking in a sense. Each wave is less likely to produce the same damage for the same cost. For Russia, the response is likely adaptation rather than retreat. Reporting shows Russia mixing Shahd drones with decoys, changing routes, and fielding variants that fly higher, faster, or with stronger jams. If interceptors become common, Russia may try to saturate them by sending larger waves or pairing drones with missiles to distract defenses. It may also try to strike the factories and supply chains behind Ukraine's interceptor program. So while drone killers can shrink the threat, they can also reshape it. The contest is shifting towards sustained adaptation on both sides, and that remains a hard fight through the winter. Over the next few nights, watch the indicators. Does Ukraine keep reporting numbers of drones shot down or jammed as interceptor deliveries rise? Does Russia change the mix, sending variants or more decoys? And does the pattern of damage shift with fewer concentrated strikes but more scattered impacts as drones are forced off route? None of this will be perfect, and wartime reporting can vary. But together, it will show whether interceptors are becoming a durable layer or just a short-lived advantage. For now, Ukraine is betting it can intercept more shots cheaply and make the buzz less deadly. There is a broader lesson here for modern war. Cheap. Mass-manufactured systems are rewriting how air defense is measured. It is no longer only about owning advanced missile batteries. It is about having enough interceptors, sensors, and operators to handle mass. Ukraine is showing how innovation can be scaled under pressure. Russia is showing how mass drones can challenge sophisticated defenses. Europe is taking notes because the same drones could threaten other borders. For Ukraine, the aim is survival. For everyone else, the lesson is preparedness. Air defense is becoming a numbers game, and the numbers are changing fast. Back to the skies over Ukraine tonight, Russia launches drones and Ukraine still defends, but the balance may be shifting. A low-cost interceptor that slams into a Shahd is a sign the defender can innovate at scale. Without burning through stocks, it will not stop every strike. Yet as more interceptors reach units and more pilots master them, the Shahd threat can be blunted wave by wave. This week, Air Force statements described many drones being shot down or jammed, even as some still reach targets. The buzz remains. The difference is that Ukraine is learning to hunt